I've already spoken, so I'm not going to speak for very long, but I just wanted to add in a few words in terms of the role that sort of training and supervision and sort of coaching and supervision and training that Kathy does, that Jeff does, and that John Rapping does at Gideon's Promise, how important a prong that is in terms of the different prongs that can be used to sort of change where Gideon is at now, hopefully for much for the better. Training is absolutely critical. In fact, one of the first things I did when I took over the Orleans Public Defender's Office, before I ever hired anybody, was I set up training with John Rapping at Gideon's Promise predecessor. And in fact, the entire first class was composed of Orleans Public Defenders, new ones that I had just hired. And really people like Kathy and Jeff and John Rapping are, to me, some of the biggest heroes in this, because one of the things as public defenders, a lot of public defenders, we get into it for this warrior aspect or this humanist aspect. And the thing that gets celebrated in a lot of public defenders' offices, probably most public defenders' offices, is of course trial victories, right? The trial lawyer coming back from the courtroom victorious, having gotten their client acquitted. And so that's what a lot of us see and what a lot of us aspire to and what a lot of what young lawyers aspire to. And sort of the unsung heroes behind the scene are the people who do the training, because they don't get that kind of glory. They don't get to come back from the courtroom with the victories and that sort of stuff. It is a product of their work, however. And so it's incredibly important. The other part of training that I think is incredibly important to see, and it's something that Kathy sort of touched on, is yes, there's skills. That's really important for lawyers to get good skills, to be good, competent lawyers, to know the law, to have the skills of opening statements, voir dire, cross-examination, all of the technical skills of being a lawyer. But one of the things I also found in terms of fixing a badly broken criminal justice system in public defender's office is that more than anything else, training establishes a culture in the office. It tells the lawyers in the office that this work is valuable, that doing this work well, that having all of this knowledge and skill is valued, is important, okay? And it creates a culture within the office. It can create a culture within the office that the office sees itself as aspiring to be the best and to be the best lawyers in town. I certainly saw that when I was very fortunate. I got to start my career as a public defender in the DC Public Defender's Office, which by that time had a very good, well-deserved reputation. But the office, everybody in the office, all the lawyers, all the investigators, all the social workers, everybody saw themselves as part of basically one of the best law firms in town, okay? It was something, I graduated from Harvard. It was something that Peril, right? You're talking about the people who graduated from Harvard, Yale, Stanford, who were president of the Law Review, who clerked for Supreme Court justices, aspired to go to, okay? And that sort of environment is created by these folks, by the training and teaching and creating that sort of culture. And that is the sort of thing that then, when married to resources that Kathy and Mark talked about, when you start to put those two things together, now you've really got something. Whereas one without the other is not nearly as helpful, and sometimes can even be damaging. But when you can put it together, that's what really makes a difference. And I feel like that's ultimately what really made a difference in and made the difference in being successful, more or less, in Orleans Parish in terms of reforming things, was that right from the get-go, all of our new lawyers, every single year, as I said, we went from 5 lawyers to 53 lawyers in 3 years on 120 employees. What made the difference was that I'd already pre-lined up the training, gotten a grant from OSI, John Rapping got a grant to start Gideon's Promise, and put that together and had that already sitting there waiting for these new young lawyers. And it's ultimately what will sustain the office and sustain the effort. So it's really important.